Hello, America. This is going to be a video on a number of things. First off, let me say, um, I guess I might as well start it with this. This is right off the top of my brain. So if this is a stupid idea, keep in mind. I just thought of this. But about Stone Cold Steve Austin, I want to say that I am a huge fan of his work. I respect the man. I think he's a great actor. He's very athletic too, but mainly an actor. I think he's a great actor, very charismatic, talented, great character, great storytelling. I like the guy. I'm a huge fan of him. And what I was saying in the last interview was totally based on that one action that I thought was wrong. And again, like I said, it goes beyond. And I think I said this, and I did say it on Twitter. In my Twitter page, by the way, that is probably better than this page that I am cluster fucking. And I'm starting to clusterfuck my Twitter page, and I have to get my shit back together. And I'm trying to do that, by the way. But my Twitter page is Humanist Philosophies. So if you're interested, go there and go to that. But if you want a better idea of what I believe, that doesn't come across as a insane rant and just dumbness. But anyways, or not always. Sometimes it does. And I don't know who that person was, but he has left the building, and that sucks. But anyways, I just want to say that beyond that, I said today on my page on Twitter, because I have issues with alcoholism and drinking, and I have a little bit of even a mild pill addiction. So I often say things that are slightly stupid, and I don't completely mean, and I have issues with a kind of psychodrama. I have issues with the psychodrama that I also play out in my brain, and I even have I think I have a mild, very mild case of almost split personality issues, or split personality disorder. And that comes across on my page in part because I drink a lot, and I want to make that clear, or make that obvious, by the way. So I will sometimes present myself as some kind of villain or something. Just it's odd. But the point is, I wanted to get away from politics until I could get my head back on straight. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, when you know it, because I knew when I said that something would happen that would bring me back into politics. And this will be that. And this is bullshit, and it pisses me off. And it pissed me off when they first did it, but at least it was different back then in that context, because they had not had a women's main event at WrestleMania yet. But it is just fucking absolutely absurd now, and it is a total. It's hatred of men. I mean, that's all this can be. Be construed as. And I say that, or I come to that conclusion because, look, they want to do an entire women's pay-per-view named WWE Evolution again. And they already did one, but that was in 2018, and that was before they had a women's main event at WrestleMania. But they have had that now. And furthermore, not only have they had that now, they have had multiple main events at pay-per-views with women in them. They are pushing the women. I don't think there's one woman each that has not been, that is at least earning over $1 million. They are self-made in some ways, though they had a little bit of help, millionaires. And that's fine. And I would like to remind you, by the way, Paige, who I think brought up this, great idea, by the way. She was in 2013, so that's been going on a decade ago now, when she was only 21 years old, let me remind you, beat an established WWE star in AJ Lee, and I'm not even going there. But yeah, a little too old for the Lolita thing, but whatever. I think she was like 30 then. Anyways, the point is, she beat an established WWE star for the women's title on her first night on the main show on the WWE roster, on the main show. Became women's champion. How many 21-year-old male champions do you know of? How about none? I think they had one 24-year-old and one 25-year-old, and Rock was 27. And other than that, it's usually somewhere in the early to mid 30s, and now they're not even signing some wrestlers until they're 40 for some idiotic reason that I don't understand. Like, for example, they didn't sign AJ Styles or Samoa Joe when they could have in 2001, 2002, and they waited until they were about 40 fucking years old to sign either one of them. So that makes sense. But that's when they're signing these men, and then they go and they put the women's title on women in their early 20s. And you're telling me that the men are oppressing the women. And again, they've had a women's main event. They've had women. TNA has a woman heavyweight champion, by the way, who has done a very good job. And I don't like a lot of the stuff she said. And she said misogynistic and racist things. But you're right. She was right. You can change. I have said stupid things in my life, and so forth. But I will also like to remind you that had a man said some of what she said, they would have been fired on the spot. So it really isn't right. But nevertheless, she has done a decent job as champion. She has wrestled men. She has taken bumps for men. She is not one of these lolly-dolly kind of, poster girl champions where they just go out there and win every match and they don't bump. She has bumped for men, and she has wrestled men a lot bigger than her, and she's done very good. And I'm not shitting on her. But the point is, the only thing WWE has not done is had a female world champion. And the only damn reason they have not had that is because they will not let a woman go out there and bump around for a guy. And they have a couple of times in the last few years, but very rarely. And the point that I'm making with this is, what I'm saying is, that has nothing to do with men oppressing women. It's because they don't want to offend their viewing audience. And Mickie James said this, and a bunch of other things that kind of pissed me off. And I used to be a fan of hers, and I'm not anymore. But the point is, she said she did not want to see men beat up a woman. And she said she wanted to punch them in the mouth for real, because that makes sense. You do something on fictional television, you do something for pretend on a fictional television show. So I'm going to punch you for real. But the point is, people aren't ready for that, or at least everybody doesn't think they are, or whatever. So that has nothing to do with. So the point is, patriarchy, if you want to call it that, or male privilege, has nothing to do with why women or a woman has not had the world heavyweight title or the world title. It's because they don't want to let the woman bump around for the guy. Even though China was doing it 20-something fucking years ago. So how far have we really went in terms of gender equality? Because China had the Intercontinental title, and she won it off Jarrett, and she lost it to Jericho. She won it the first match against Jericho, lost it to Jericho, and then had a tie with Jericho, and she tagged with Jericho. And she took bumps, and he bumped for her, and it was a back and forth kind of battle, as Ray Keller would say. And they had a good match. And it wasn't anti-men or anti-male or anti-woman or misogynistic or miscentrist or anti-man. It wasn't man bashing. They had a back and forth, and it was a healthy, gender equal, fun old time. And I have no problem with that. But they're not going to do that anymore. They're going to do shit like this now, where you're going to give these women who are on an equal playing field now, for the most part, with the men in wrestling, an entire fucking pay-per-view. And then you don't understand why some men are sick of this. It's been over a decade of this shit. And they're still talking about, with all the shit that you have seen happen to men, and think about it. Women do to men do to other men, for your entire lives. They are still talking about, they're still talking about an almost 20-year-old fucking television segment with Trish Stratus barking like a dog for Vince McMahon. And she was barking like a dog. And he's the bad guy. He's an authoritarian. He's supposed to be like Hitler. He's an evil Nazi fucking scumbag. And the entire idea was you're building it up for Shane McMahon, his son, to come back and kick his ass. That was a story. Shane McMahon was going to come back. Shane was going to return and kick his ass. And Trish Stratus slapped him in the face, and she chased his daughter, who was like a brat. She chased her out of the ring. And that was a fucking story. It wasn't, gee, we hate women. It's a fucking story. Don't you know what good guys and bad guys are? But they're still talking about that and bitch about that 20 fucking years ago. And look at the shit that they get away with doing to men now. And that's why, by the way, men's rights activists, let me have a one-on-one talk to you from a humanist and an LGBTQ activist to a fucking men's rights activist. Something I used to be, by the way. We need to sit down and have a deep philosophical conversation one of these days. But right now, I'll leave it at this. Not all of your fucking leaders are really fucking men's rights activists. You understand this, or you understand that, right? Some of them are fascists, and they're not doing anything they do to help men, and they're not against chopping off the tips of baby dicks. They're not against fucking telling you how to dress or how to act. They're not against oppressing gay men, and they don't like you. They don't like you very much at all, but they use you to control people. But I'm telling you this straight up from one humanist who does care about men's rights activists to a real men's rights activist, if you're watching. The only way you're ever going to get rid of fucking basic gender issues concerning men and males is you're going to have to basically fucking get rid of the male gender. And ultimately the female gender too. And when I say gender, I mean gender roles, gender norms. Men and women are basically going to have to, over time, become the same thing. And until that happens, this type of shit like WWE Evolution, the stupid fucking pay-per-view they're pushing for it, is never going to end. And it's just going to be more and more man bashing. And I don't care if women find that misogynistic. At the end of the day, it's true and it's a fact. Men are suffering from these damn gender roles now more than anyone else. And we have to get rid of the gender roles. This ideal that men and women are these inherently different people, because they're using that to demonize men and ultimately oppress men. They see us as having privilege, and they see us as this patriarchy, or this overwhelming concept, this overarching concept of a patriarch and patriarchal, even though we're not. And most men aren't doing very good, and we have all kinds of fucking problems. They don't understand that, and they don't want to. So we're gonna have to get rid of the fucking concept of being men. The only way to liberate men is to liberate you from that fucking male gender, because it sucks and it's not doing any damn thing good for you anymore. And you'd have to be crazy to want to keep this shit. And that's all. And again, I'm just so sick of fucking wrestling. There was a show that was supposed to be originally for men, constantly shitting on men. And women don't even watch. What the fuck is the point of this? That's all. E666.